What's good? What's good? I'm back. Yours truly, one and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Today, I'm going to react to a video about Native American support and petition to change the Washington Commanders back to the Redskins. And why am I reacting to this? Because before we had a football team in Carolina, we were Washington Redskins fans or Cowboys fans, because there's a lot of Cowboys fans in every city and every state, of course. But before we had any professional sports teams, we were literally we've always been Braves fans in North Carolina, and we were Redskins fans. I don't know if people still like them now that the Commanders, and we also liked the Hawks, because these were the only teams that used to televise here before we got the Panthers and before we got the Hornets and whatnot. But before we get into this video, I want to give you a word from promopalace.biz.
Marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
That's right. You heard a beautiful lady. If you need online marketing promotions for your music, product, brand, or service, please go to promopalace.biz. As you see, there's a coupon code you can use, Labor Day 2023. That's the last coupon code that was created. You can get 15% off all music promo on the website. All right, let's get into it.
Well, it depends on whom you ask. According to a new Washington Post poll, 9 out of 10 Native Americans said they aren't offended by it. The poll surveyed 504 Native American adults across every state. It has a 5.5% margin of error.
But the Redskins, I mean, that's a historic, that's a fighter, you know what I mean? And like you look at the Apache helicopters, you look at the Navajo code talkers, you see people jumping on airplanes saying Geronimo. So that's just admiration that the American cultures that's adapting and bringing into their environment.
We live in a culture.
Let me stop real quick. He said something about the Apache helicopters and things. I'm pretty sure the Americans named it the Apache helicopter because it was badass. And that's what they thought of the Apaches, were badass. I mean, these Native American warriors, once they learn the horseback, they totally remind me of the Genghis Khan days. I know Genghis Khan, most people say Genghis Khan, but it's really Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan like conquered with a horseback and bow and arrow. And Native Americans kind of picked that up once they got the horseback aspect in. But the problem is Europeans by that time were fighting with guns. Like gunpowder rifles and gunpowder handguns and whatnot. And yeah, like, that's the thing. Who always question who was really offended by the name Redskins. I never heard a bunch of Native Americans come out and protest to have that taken down or say they were offended by the name.
Society where outrage has become a recreational pastime, where people nit and pick until they find something wrong, and then they become outraged by it.
This video is brought to you by Pure Talk, brought to you by Pure Talk USA. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking to save money on your cell phone bill. Look no further. Go to Pure Talk to find the greatest deals that I've ever seen. Think about this, $20 a month for a phone bill. Find it. Can you find it anywhere else, any other company? No, you cannot. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, plenty of 5G data on the most reliable network for $20 a month. Also, veteran-owned customer service right here in the United States of America. I have a Pure Talk phone. You can switch your phone and your phone number right over to Pure Talk and save today. Pure Talk saved the average family $900 a year. What are you waiting on? Dial pound 250 and say Brandon Tatum. That's pound 250 on your cell phone. Say Brandon Tatum or hit the link in the description section. Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you get notification anytime I go live, make a video. Y'all already know what to do. Let's get into this.
Redskins petition outrage that the Washington Commanders rep called them fake group. Think about this for a minute. Native Americans are saying the Washington Redskins should be the Redskins and not the Commanders. And because that doesn't fit the narrative of white liberals, they wanted to call this particular Native American group a fake group. It's a
And let me stop real quick. That's who I believe really pushed for this, is white liberals. You know, it's like, how is somebody going to be offended for somebody else? Like, how are you going to be offended on something that has totally nothing to do with you? You have no connection to it, no relation to it, but you decide, hey, you know what? These people that are actually not connected to it or close to it or related to it, they're not showing like they're offended. They might not be offended. Maybe they are. Who knows? But we're going to go ahead and be offended for them.
same thing as Joe Biden saying, if you don't know who you want to vote for, me or the Democrat or Republican, then you ain't black. It's like, well, if you're not offended.
Which is the most racist thing I've ever heard a president say out of his mouth in my lifetime. It's more racist than anything I've heard come out of Donald Trump's mouth. That's for sure.
By the Washington Redskins that have been around forever, then you ain't a native. It's like you guys have built this victim culture that don't really exist, only in your mind, because you are perpetually virtue signaling to groups. You virtue signal to black people, not knowing what black people really love, what they think, what they are all about. You think you know what they're about, and so you virtue signal to them.
Yeah, that's basically kind of what I said. You know, white liberals say, hey, you know what, Native American people, we're gonna go be offended for you. You know, even though you might not necessarily be offended, and apparently you Native American people don't know that you're supposed to be offended by this. So we also gotta, be offended for you. It's crazy. It's like it's so crazy. It is virtue signaling. Like, and I grew up a Redskins fan because my grandfather was a Redskins fan. My grandfather is from South Dakota. He basically had to move out at age 16, live and work on a farm for 3 meals a day, not a penny to his pocket, and a roof over his head. That was it. Went to the Army, did 20 years in the Army. So I've always, looked up to my grandfather and his story, his hardworking story, And South Dakota, I tell you what, there's a lot of Native Americans in South Dakota. So for all I know, my grandfather might have Native American in him. I do know he was a diehard Redskins fan before he passed away. My grandfather's probably rolling in his grave. The fact that they done changed it from the Washington football team and into the Commanders. Yeah, and that's the thing. North Carolina, there was a lot of Washington Redskin fans growing up in North Carolina. And if they weren't Redskins fans, they were typically probably Cowboy fans. If not Cowboy fans, they were Steeler fans. Redskins, Cowboys, and Steelers. Well, and Raiders too. But most people only like the Raiders because of Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen and the colors, which I had a Raiders pullover when I was in junior high at Douglasburg. Had the Raiders pullover hoodie back in the days, which the pullover hoodies once they came out, everybody was buying those. Everybody loved the Raiders colors back in the days and whatnot. NWA also, wore the hell out of the Raiders colors.
Oh no, that's offensive to black people. And black people are like, bro, I don't care. What are you talking about? I ain't never thought twice. I ain't never one time saw a person that have an ID. That is unheard of in the black community. When I was growing up, nobody's ever mentioned, not one time, that there was a problem with having an ID to vote and that black people didn't have IDs. I've never heard of that. The system is obstructing us to have IDs. Man, you get ID in middle school. You got IDs in high school. Well, mostly high school, because and
anybody who wants to go buy cigarettes and alcohol once they get a certain age, or go to a club, or rent a car, rent a hotel, or rent a house, buy a house. There's just so many things. Get insurance. Guess what? They got to get an ID.
Turn 16, you can get an ID. Every black person I know had a driver's permit, even if you didn't have a car.
Hey, when I was in school, kids were definitely trying to get driver's license super early. They were all taking driver's ed. So they wasn't sitting there complaining that they had to get IDs.
They got you a driver's permit, at least. I don't even know a black person that really didn't have a car. Some of my family members had roaches in their house. They had a car though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know what the white liberals have never lived around black people. They know nothing about black people. They just go into these quote unquote spokespeople for the black community that are also out of touch with black people. And they come up with legislation and this theology that's not representative of black people. Same thing happens with natives.
The Native American Guardians Association was planning to also protest or push for change back to the original name.
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Because there's a great honor in the name Redskin, which, if we go by what's been reported versus what's actually factual, it's very opposite ends of the spectrum. Term Redskin is not a derogatory term or a racist term. I'm not saying somebody couldn't say it in a derogatory term or in a racist way, but Redskin is actually the status symbol of an elite warrior. And it's actually a purification ceremony where braves on the warpath actually paint their skin red to go to battle. And it's actually extremely honorable. And it's a very, very, very deep ceremony that is very not only steeped in history, but it's a purification ceremony where you.
And let me stop real quick. Because this guy looks just like my former neighbor in Leisure Living, James Oxendine. Rest in peace to James, man. Gosh, I wish he was still alive. Great friend. Looks just like him. Now, James was Lumbee. Now, anybody who knows the history of Lumbee, and most people in North Carolina do, that they were people supposedly, the rumor is they were banished from other Native American tribes. His skin tone looks the same as James. I mean, the way he speaks, he has that Native American accent. And I'm sorry, does his skin look red? Does his skin look red? It's like this idea that they were calling people Redskins because that's the color of their skin. No, it had everything to do with the war paint. And it's crazy how people who don't even know anything about a culture wants to be offended for that culture, wants to be offended for the culture. Like they can't be offended themselves. Like they can't pick and choose what things they want to be offended by and whatnot. It's crazy. It's like you trying to tell somebody what they should be offended by. You're not, you don't let them choose to be offended by things. You're just like, well, let's go ahead and get rid of Redskins names because Native Americans should have been offended by this anyways, because white liberals say so.
Make a deal with the Almighty that you're ready to die in battle if you need to.
But the Redskins, I mean, that's a fighter, you know what I mean? And like you look at the Apache helicopters, You look at the Navajo code talkers, you see people jumping on airplanes saying Geronimo. So that's just admiration that the American cultures that's adapting and bringing into their environment.
We live in a culture and a society where outrage has become a recreational pastime, where people nit and pick until they find something wrong, and then they become outraged by it. And that, for me, I believe that hurts cross-cultural relationships. I believe it hinders us helping to understand each other. And I always start off every tour and every questionnaire session with, I'm very difficult to offend. And I believe that the most offensive questions are the questions that need to be asked and answered.
Native Americans are saying, white.
You hear that? Before Mr. Officer Tatum finishes, I think the most offensive questions are the questions that need to be asked and answered, I guess, as well. You know, like, that's the thing. Like, I have a real good circle of friends that we could talk about anything in life without getting offended. Just understanding, different perspectives and views on different things. We don't have to agree with everything across the board, to still be friends. And that's the thing. We're in this weird place in society where if you don't agree with somebody 100%, people want to cancel you. They say they can't associate with you. They want to label you all types of names: evil, racist, white supremacist, biggest, transphobe, homophobe. It could be just one thing you disagree on, and you might agree on 99% of the things, but that one thing, they just want, oh, you're evil. It's crazy.
Liberals, quit trying to be a savior. We don't need you to change the Redskins. It's always interesting because I think that teams like the Florida State Seminoles, the Washington Redskins are really given a level of credence and even historical precedent for how Native Americans had a prominent part in our society. I just hope these people either repent or go to hell with the stuff that they doing. I'm being honest. I'm being honest. That's what my heart really feel. How did they take Ancient Mama off the pancake, off the syrup? How? You know how stupid you have to be to think that's somehow helping black people? My whole life, I thought that was a black syrup. And I said, oh man, as a black kid, I'm only getting Ancient Mama. Every black person I know had Ancient Mama in there because it's a black lady.
I mean, we get that syrup too, the pancake mix, whatever.
On the thing. We trying to support black people. And we go get Ancient Mama syrup. And then Uncle Ben's rice. Now these ignorant fools done took black people off of everything. The biggest syrup company in America, probably.
Yeah, he's got a good point. When you go into the grocery store, if you see any faces of representation on any products, they're going to be all white faces now. It's going to be all white faces. And I asked myself, it's like when liberals sit there and they go after Ron DeSantis. I ain't going to call him DeSantimonious like Trump almost did. Ron DeSantis. It's funny, DeSantimonious. Trump has some of the funniest nicknames. But when they go after him and they're like, well, Ron, you're taking these books out of school. You're trying to prevent these books in school that teach slavery, the history of slavery and whatnot. But then I see everybody tearing down every statue. They're not only tearing down Confederate soldier statues and general statues, they're going after the Union statues as well. And I ask myself, do liberals want history to be taught? It seems like they're trying to whitewash away history, erase it, try to erase it and make it it's like they want to erase every single tradition in America. They want to redefine every single word in America. They want to eradicate everything and start from scratch, erase the history. Like, oh look, we're all holding hands off into the sunset. There's a lot of delusional thinking going on in society. And I'm not a religious guy, I'm a laws of nature guy, but I can tell you right now, the theme is nature, the laws of nature, they're totally being ignored. They're being disrespected, and Native Americans are definitely somebody who goes off the laws of nature. Like, that's the thing. Like, Native Americans lived with the land, not on the land, but in society, it's like once you get too many people in the society, they're gonna disagree. They're gonna agree to disagree. And I've always questioned even with Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, I never really seen black people out there protesting it. I didn't see large groups of black people out there protesting it. It's been on the shelves for years. Why all of a sudden, when wokeness comes in, woke culture, this wokeness comes in, that's when, oh, we got to get rid of it. And he's right. Like, now you ain't gonna have no representation of any black faces on any products unless you got Master P cereal in there. But I don't think Master P cereal is selling in like IGA or Food Lion or Walmart, things of that nature. I could be wrong, but it's like, even like the wrap snacks, I don't never see those in the grocery stores. They're only in like convenience stores, and usually like the mom and pops joints.
Done took a black image, a black face, a black person off the entire brand. Now young people go to the store, they don't see black people on none of that stuff. Ain't seen a black man on nobody rice. What did you do for black people? No black.
Yeah, another thing it makes me think about, okay, how does that go with diversity, inclusion, and all these things? How does that really, now the grocery store is just all white? It's all white. There's nothing diverse about it. Maybe you'll see an Italian face on there, on a pasta, on some pasta or something. But like, yeah, man. Like, how does that go with diversity and inclusion when all the products in the grocery stores and probably and like Target, Walmart, Food Line, IG, all of them, they're just gonna be all white faces on the products. That doesn't sound like diversity inclusion. This thing that they, are shouting to the rooftops.
Black person was offended by Aunt Jemima. Nobody. We love that, sir. It was good. Make you remember grandma. See, these white liberals they're not around actual black people. The Aunt Jemima little thing remind me of my grandmother, Vern D. She looked just like that lady on there. Live in the middle of nowhere, off a dirt road in a double wide, with a chicken coop under there.
I can tell you, as a rapper, a promoter of hip hop music, a person who's lived in neighborhoods that have been 50% black and 50% white pretty much my entire life, and I've lived in predominantly black neighborhoods, never heard anybody, one person, ever say anything about Uncle Ben's or Aunt Jemima's. I've never heard, any Native I mean, we never heard any Native Americans complain about it. You know, even though Lumbees didn't get considered I don't know if they're considered a actual tribe yet, because I think they're basically people from multiple tribes. And the reason they got their name is they traveled down the Lumbee River to what's now called Lumberton, North Carolina. And never heard none of them. You know, I got a neighbor 2 apartments over. She's Lumbee. She's from Lumberton. Definitely could tell she has Native American in her. She's doesn't care that Washington was called the Redskins. She doesn't care. It doesn't offend her. You know, it doesn't offend her. It's just crazy that people decide, hey, you're not offended by this. Let me go ahead and be offended for you. Like, people can't pick and choose the things they want to be offended by. Share a little bit more.
My great grandma and my great grandfather, they were country. They had their own. They do their own food, grew their own vegetables.
So did my grandparents.
Lived out in the middle of nowhere, poor as dirt, but they were happy.
Now, my grandparents weren't poor as dirt. My grandfather worked hard, went to the military 20 years, but he grew his own food in the backyard. Like I said, he worked on a farm for 2 years straight, not a penny to his pocket, roof over his head, 3 meals a day for 2 years straight. Because it's from a time when parents couldn't take court. That's the thing. Nowadays, you couldn't do that. You couldn't just say, hey, you got to move out at age 16 because we can't take care of you no more. They'll lock you up for some stuff like that nowadays.
Same thing with the lineage of my family. I come from farmers in Jackson, Texas.
My grandma grew up on a pig farm in Ithaca, New York. So I come from a farming family too, as well. Hard workers, valued hard work. And that's why I work 7 days a week and I value hard work.
With everybody got 15 kids and stuff. Grandma dressed like that with them big dresses and with a hat on going to the church house. But the white liberal have never been around black people. And they listen to the Al Sharptons of the black community they're completely out of touch. And they go, yeah, that's right. Black people should be offended. Let's take them off of everything because it's a bad representation. Well, then take Ancient Mama off, put a new Ancient Mama. Put Hoochie Mama on there. Yeah, if that's what you want. Call the new syrup Hoochie Mama. And put Lil Dirty on there. What's her name? Lil Dirty or
Sexy Red? Sexy
Dirty?
Red.
What's her name? Sexy Red. It's really nasty red.
I already knew he was going to go there. I knew he was going to go there when he said, well, take Angel Mama off and put on Hoochie Mama. I knew that's where he was going. And because that's the thing, like people try to paint a picture like that's how black people are supposed to act or should act. And that's supposed to be the representation of black culture. Well, I can tell you, it doesn't represent anybody in my circle, and everybody in my circle is black. Everybody, it doesn't represent Chris Roker, it doesn't represent Bird, Stranger Than Great, Mr. Jones. It doesn't represent anybody on the Live from Vietnam podcast. It doesn't represent anybody I deal with in my intermediate circle on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't. And that's the thing, like this idea that a race of people are supposed to think one specific way and act one specific way. That's kind of racist. If that's pretty racist to think that, because I know I got black friends that only listen to heavy metal music and only date white chicks. You like what you like, man. You're interested in what you're interested in. And I don't really got to hear more of this. Yeah, I think this is really just white liberals being offended, trying to tell people how to be offended. like the Joe Biden telling, black people that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. And I hate to say it, a lot of black people still ran out and voted, but there's a lot of black people that still pray to a white Jesus. I don't. But yeah, there's a lot of black people out there praying to a white Jesus still. And that's a problem. That's a problem. That, like, and even though I don't believe in Islam, I believe Islam's got it wrong too. That's why another reason why I respected Malcolm over Martin, because Martin Luther King Jr. prayed to a white Jesus. He had it all wrong. Martin Luther King Jr. had it all wrong. He was praying to a white Jesus. Malcolm won't pray to no white Jesus. And he had it right about the liberals, because he said liberals are more hypocritical and more deceptive. He said, hey, both sides are corrupt. They're both corrupt. But one side is more open about the corruption. They're showing you who they are. The other side is lying. They're totally lying. And the double standards are across the board. The Democrats have been the most hypocritical political party since Malcolm X and probably before. I wasn't even alive for Malcolm X. They've been the most political. I've lived 44 years. I wasn't even alive for Malcolm X. And they've been the most hypocritical and deceptive political party in my lifetime and before that. People think, they think they switched over from being the party that's not Confederates and the KKKs and the starter, let me raise that back. The Confederates, the starter of the KKKs and the starter of Jim Crow, it's like, oh, you know what? They ended Jim Crow. Hold up. You don't get credit for ending Jim Crow if you started this shit. Is that what we're doing here? And I would argue, no matter who was in office, civil rights is going to go through around when it went through. But people are, Democrats, they switched. They did a 180. No, they told you. They told you they did a 180. They never did a 180. They stood exactly still on their views and their ideologies. And they didn't change one bit. They just told you they switched so they could get your vote. And now you see what's going on. Oh, first Democrats say, oh, we care about a black vote. Oh, well, that's only until they care about the LGBTQ vote. Oh, we care about the LGBTQ vote. Well, that's only until we care really more about the transgender vote. Oh, we care about transgender vote. That's only until we care about the illegal immigrant vote. Because Democrats clearly right now only care about Ukrainians and illegal immigrants. That's it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. Once again, Paul Pickett Podcast. Don't forget the video version goes to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, LinkedIn. Audio version goes to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio, Player FM, and much, much more. Peace. See you there.